Hey everyone, it's Arisa here. In this video, I'm going to try and show you how to wave dash. I apologize to the camera. I know it's a bit dark. I'm doing my best to try and get what I can out of this $30 webcam. But I'm going to show you how to learn the mechanic, explain what it's useful for, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not going to ramble on too much because all of the good stuff is in the actual tutorial. So without further ado, let's get into it. So you want to learn how to wave dash. You've seen the pros do it, you've watched your teammates do it, and now you've decided that it's time for you to learn it too. But where do you start? How does this weird mechanic work? Well, hopefully by the end of this video, not only will you fully understand how wave dashing works, but you'll also know how to train it efficiently as well. There are three main reasons that you should learn to wave dash. Firstly, this mechanic will seriously improve the time it takes for you to recover after being bumped by an opponent. Secondly, wave dashing makes you faster around the field.
You zoom zoom zoom?
Most notably when coming off walls, but much like regular flips, also on flat ground. Once you know how to wave dash, you'll no longer have to drive down that little curve at the bottom of every wall, and instead be able to jump off the walls, wave dash, and give yourself a quick speed boost once all your wheels are on the ground. Thirdly, and this is kind of an extension of the increased speed that you get from a wave dash, but your boost management will also likely improve, especially when recovering and coming off of walls. Wave dashing gives you the same speed boost as a regular flip, however it doesn't commit you in one direction like a regular flip does. Wave dashing gives you momentum once all your wheels are on the ground, whereas a regular flip gives you momentum whilst you're still mid-air. You can't immediately bail out of a flip if the play suddenly changes. However, if you begin a wave dash and need to suddenly change your direction, then it is possible to stop the speed boost from happening up until the very last moment. This is why you see pro players like apparently Jack use the mechanic so often. Being able to change your mind in a matter of milliseconds is extremely invaluable in a game as fast paced as Rocket League. In theory, a wave dash is actually pretty easy to do. What makes it difficult is the timing. Once you have trained your brain to time a wave dash properly, you will be able to pull it off 99% of the time without even thinking about it. It'll become like second nature. But until then, slow the game speed down to make learning it quicker and easier. If you're on console, create a private match and leave all the mutator settings default except for the game time, which you want to change to unlimited, and the game speed, which you want to change to slow-mo. If you're on Rocket League on a PC, then using Backus mod, click on the current game tab and drag the game speed slider to around 50% or slower. You'll need to hold power slide when coming out of a wave dash, so having it binded to the same button as your regular air roll is ideal. I reckon the most common type of a wave dash is one that gives you forward momentum, so let's start there. There are three key components to a forward wave dash. The first, dodge or jump depending on what you call it, the way the car contacts the ground, and lastly, the second, dodge. Practice pressing your dodge button as quickly as possible so as to not jump too high off the ground, whilst at the same time tilting your car backwards by about 20 degrees. Also hold down your power slide button when you're doing this. You'll see that as you are landing, your rear wheels make contact with the ground first, and this is really important because you can't wave dash if all four of your wheels land on the ground at the same time. Now try simultaneously pressing the dodge button a second time when your rear wheels hit the ground. Also push your analog stick forward at the same time as well. Again, hold power slide the entire time. If you have timed everything appropriately, then chances are you've just performed a forward wave dash. However, if you end up doing a kind of weird front flip looking thing, then it's because you haven't timed everything quite right, and you just need to make sure that you're pressing the dodge button when your rear wheels make contact with the ground. Also, if you find that you're losing your second dodge before your rear wheels make contact with the ground, then it's because you're pressing a dodge button for too long. You really only want to tap it. Wave dashing whilst you are driving makes things a little trickier because your car will have more speed, so only tapping the dodge button for a split second is even more important here. However, it's still the same inputs on your controller regardless of whether your car is moving or not. That's really all there is to it. Like I said before, it's actually a pretty straightforward mechanic. If you spend a few minutes training your brain to get the timing right, then you'll be able to wave dash with the game set to its default speed. This mechanic isn't just limited to a forward motion. In fact, you can actually wave dash on any angle except for diagonally. It's important to learn wave dashing on odd angles because this improves your ability to use the mechanic as a recovery tool. The basic theory and inputs for a sideways wave dash are very similar to that of a forward one, except that you'll need to either air roll left or right to tilt one side of your car away from the ground as you land. To wave dash towards the right, press your dodge button quickly, whilst at the same time holding your regular air roll button and tilting your car towards the left by about 20 degrees. At the same time that your two left wheels touch the ground, press your dodge button again and simultaneously push your analog stick to the right. Make sure you're holding your air roll power slide button the entire time. Just the same as a forwards wave dash, if you've timed everything correctly, you'll have just performed a sideways wave dash. Wave dashing to the left is the same inputs, but of course reversed. Now that you know how to wave dash, you can start applying it to your gameplay, and one of the most useful places to use it is off the walls of the field. Dashing off the walls is very similar to dashing on flat ground, but with the added difficulty of needing to use air roll to adjust your car. With car cam on, jump off the wall just above the coloured curve, but this time also press and hold your regular air roll button. Push your analog stick to the bottom left or bottom right, so diagonally, depending on the direction that you're driving. Again, make sure you're holding the air roll button. This motion with your analog stick flattens your car's centre of mass parallel to the ground, but also tilts your car slightly backwards. Now all you have to do is press your dodge button as your rear wheels hit the ground, just as usual. I know that this is tricky and it definitely requires a bit of muscle memory and timing, but once you have all of that down pat, driving down the curve will be a thing of the past. Another useful situation for a wave dash is when you're in the back of a net. To recover quickly, drive up and around the net, and then once your car is in the air, barrel roll 180 degrees and wave dash as you land on the ground. I just wanted to interrupt really quickly and say that this next bit isn't actually quite accurate, and really the reason you're allowed to keep your first dodge is because you never used it in the first place. But what I say is kind of an easy way of thinking of it, so I'm going to leave it in. It's worth noting that as you come out of the net, the game actually thinks that you're coming off of the ceiling. So you retain your first dodge until you make contact with the ground or a wall. Basically, you're giving yourself a ceiling flip reset and then using that flip to wave dash as you land. You've probably seen chain dashing at some point in your Rocket League career, and all it is basically multiple regular wave dashes linked together. I'm not going to pretend that I know how to do this myself, so I won't try and teach it, but Squishy Muffins has a really good tutorial. For some reason, at least here on Oceania servers, when everyone's really tired at like 2 AM in a casual game, they sometimes start chain dashing around the field, and I guess because it's fun to do and it just looks nice. One variation of chain dashing that is definitely useful is wall dashing. This is a mechanic that's only recently found its way into competitive Rocket League in the last couple of years, but it's useful because it gives the player a speed boost when they're driving on a wall. Again, I haven't learnt this mechanic yet, so I can't teach it, but it definitely has its place in high level gameplay. I'll leave links to chain and wall dashing tutorials in the description. Well, fingers crossed you now know how to wave dash. Hopefully I've done a decent job of trying to get the information across. Because this mechanic does happen so quickly, it can be difficult to slow the footage down in Premiere without it getting too choppy. But again, leave all your feedback and questions in the comments because I do read and respond to them all. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification and all that good stuff that you always get told to do whenever you watch a YouTube video. But take care of you, and I'll see you in the next one.